It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call shots. Todd, to quote a great man, Todd, if you suspect that anybody will betray you, you'll never be disappointed.
Now, did you have to look up that quote?
No, but I was thinking I was thinking about it, and it's a little bit appropriate for the movie if you think about it, like in a lot of ways. But I don't even know if that's the exact fucking quote, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah, it's if it's not the exact quote, it's close enough.
Solo: A Star Wars Story, Todd, the latest movie, the latest kind of spin-off movie in the Star Wars cinematic universe, I guess. This new Disney hostile takeover that we're all going through here. Some love it, some hate it. If you've never listened to an episode of Shots before, if you don't know the way we do things, we're going to talk about it spoiler-free for a few minutes and kind of give our generalized thoughts, and then we'll make a clear spoiler warning and move into spoiler talk. So, non-spoilery thoughts, Todd. How did you feel about Solo: A Star Wars Story?
So, I think we talked about this a couple days ago. Is like I went in with like lower expectations.
Which is why I think the quote is sort of appropriate.
Yeah, it works out. I definitely went in with lower expectations because I was just like, I was so worried about this movie, man. So worried.
Yeah, so was I.
But I'm happy to say, like, I fucking love it. I loved the shit out of it.
Yeah, I loved it too. I really did. It is so much better than I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. Like, I wasn't, like you were saying, like I was worried about it, before the movie came out. In the months and really, I think they've been talking about doing this. I think they officially announced the sort of young Han Solo movie with I think originally it was Phil Lord and Chris Miller directing, and then they, there's all this drama they left over like creative differences, and Ron Howard kind of took up the reins late into the project, kind of after people had already been cast and stuff like that, and I don't know, man. Like, for everything writing against the movie, like, I think I came into it with low expectations, kind of preparing myself to be disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And maybe that has something to do with my level of enjoyment of it, but I was shocked at how good this movie is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because, like, I think that a lot of people are like, oh, it's like such a formula. It's pretty much just like showing you like checking off all the boxes of like answering all of your Han Solo questions. Basically, like we see how he gets the Millennium Falcon, we see how he meets Chewie. You know what I mean? And like we see the Kessel Run, all those things that you wanted to see in a Han Solo kind of origin story. You're kind of shown here. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people see that as being like a cop out or something like that, and I'm like, what did you want?
Yeah, like what else do you want? Like seriously,
this movie exists. That's the reason this movie exists. This movie's doing like what it's set out to do. Now,
yeah.
If I had to lodge any sort of complaint about it, I do think that the pacing of the movie is a little bit weird.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that, yeah.
I just want to get my like kind of one and only complaint out of the way early so that I can just, for the rest of this, just gush about it. I think the pacing's a little bit weird just from, like, the structure of it being, like, kind of a heist movie is weird to me. It feels like, I don't know, I feel like there was never like a clear, there was an A to B, but there's never a clear through line between the 2 points. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, oh, we're doing this now, and now it's this set piece, and now it reminds me of that complaint that people used to have of the Uncharted games, where it seems like the movie was written around these sort of set pieces and these kind of moments, and then the things happening between them almost don't matter. Mm-hmm.
I feel that, yeah.
And I think that's true of this movie, but like here's the deal, like I don't think it matters because everything else is so great and like so high quality. Like it's just fun. Like it's just a fun Star Wars experience, you know? Like what did you think of the cast, first of all? Let's start with Han. What did you think of Alden Ehrenreich as Han?
So going in, there was another thing. I was like going into it, I didn't know if he was going to be right for it. I think he worked out. Like I don't hate him.
I really like him a lot.
Yeah.
And you know it's funny because like in the even in the trailers, I was like, I'll go a step further. Like I wasn't worried about it. I disliked it.
Yeah.
In the trailers, flat out, I was like, I don't like this kid. I don't like him. Like just looking, you know, just in those little snippets that we saw of him in the trailers, I was like, I don't know. Like I don't like him. Something about his delivery, something about it feels off. I don't like it. In the context of the movie, though, I thought he did a great job. Like, he is totally his own character. Like he's still very recognizably Han, you know. But he, like, I never at any point did I look at him on screen and say that's not Han. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's like those jackasses that are like, he don't even look like a young Harrison Ford. I'm like, and
I don't think he. Well, here's the thing. Here's the argument that I've actually made in a couple of conversations over the past few days is that like, I feel like these characters have sort of reached. Star Wars has reached that point now where it's almost like the comic book universes where the characters themselves are kind of bigger than the actors who played them now.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I feel that.
Like Alden Ehrenreich does not come into this and just do a Harrison Ford impression. And I think he does kind of look like a young Harrison Ford. And but I mean like he doesn't have to look exactly like him as long as he captures that essence. That's really all I think that's all that matters is like just capturing the essence of the character is the only thing that's important anymore. You know what I mean? Looks are like somewhat important, but like they're secondary to just making sure that you're true to the character itself. And I really respect the fact that Alden did not come in and do Harrison Ford. You know what I mean? Because they could have got that fucking guy who does that really good impression on YouTube if they wanted a Harrison Ford impression. You know what I forget his name.
I know who you're talking about though.
That guy actually, fun fact, that guy is the voice of Joker in the Telltale series.
Wait, what? Really? I did not know that.
That's the voice actor of Joker in the Telltale series. I forget his name. But yeah, like if they wanted a Harrison Ford impression, they could have just fucking got that guy. You know what I mean? They didn't want that. They wanted somebody to bring their own flavor to it. And like I said, it felt true to me. Like every time I looked at him, there was no disconnect in my mind between Alden Ehrenreich and Han Solo. When I looked at him on screen, that was Han Solo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, and I want to talk about some of obviously I'll get into Lando in a minute, but I want to talk about some of the new characters too, like Paul Bettany as the villain Dryden Voss. How did you feel about him?
Is it wrong? I wanted more of him.
I did too.
Yeah. Like I enjoyed him. That's I wanted more of him.
Yeah, a lot of people think he's kind of like a lame villain, but like I quite liked him. Like I thought he was intimidating without having to be like that kind of like that kind of thuggish, kind of muscle you around kind of villain.
I mean, they had to do the good old like watch him fucking kill a motherfucker like the first time you see him.
Of course, yeah, just to show that he's a bad dude.
Yeah,
you know. But
that's kind of a spoiler. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is the shit that we're gonna talk about in the spoiler section vastly outweighs what you just said. Yeah, no, I liked him though. Like I liked that he didn't have to go for that thuggish kind of overlord kind of thing. He had almost like a quietness to his performance, like in a weird way. Like he was scary and stuff like that, but he also had like a weird like gentleness to him. Mm-hmm. That I think Paul Bettany really brings to his characters, and that was weird. You know, it was unique, and you know, of course, he had the fucked up face, and it's like, how'd that happen? You know, like Like, I want to know more. It's the type of character who, like, by virtue of design, like something Star Wars does so well and always has, is like he's the type of character that you look at and you're like, I want to know what happened to you.
Yeah,
What's your
I
story?
want to know his story. Like, what's the deal
Right.
with him? Like, yeah.
Like that's what's so great about Star Wars is like any character has an interesting story tied to it, and they might not necessarily tell you what it is. And another new character that I wanted to touch on is Woody Harrelson as Tobias Beckett, who's sort of the, I guess, mentor character to Han Solo in this movie.
Yeah.
How'd you like him?
I liked him. Like, for the most part, it was like, did they really know each other long enough to be kind of a mentor kind of thing?
I mean, I could see your point, but like in the short time that they were together, I think they went through so much.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, like they and you know, and he I mean, ultimately I think Beckett liked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's what it boiled down to is it was one of those, and you know, and this movie's full of like cliches, you know, but like it's like kind of I see a lot of myself in you type of shit.
Yeah.
It's got a ton of like cliches like that, and you know, and there's a ton of, and I won't spoil it, but you know, like there's like a kind of twist at the end that you see coming a mile away. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like everything is pretty much exactly what you think it is. You won't be super duper surprised in this movie, but like except for the very end, which we'll get into in the spoiler section. You won't be super duper surprised in this movie. It's not, you know, just have fun. You know,
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with just having
like,
fun.
Kind of like turn your brain off and have some fun type of movie, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I have this weird thing with Woody Harrelson though, where like I don't know why, but I always think that I don't like him. Like like when he was attached to the project, I was like, Woody Harrelson, really? Like in a Star Wars movie? You know what I mean? And then like when I saw him in the trailers, I was like, he just doesn't even seem like he fits. Like like he just is weird. Like I don't know if I like the Woody Harrelson type of character in Star Wars. And I just have this weird thing where I'm just like, whenever I hear about Woody Harrelson, my brain tells me that I don't like Woody Harrelson. And then whenever I watch Woody Harrelson in a movie, he's great. You know what I mean? And I always like him, and he's usually like my favorite character in the movie. Like, he was in that movie, that Oscar-nominated movie last year, 3 Billboards, and he's fucking wonderful in that movie. He's like so good. And then he was on like True Detective, and he was really good in True Detective, you know, and like he's honestly like a great actor. But just for some reason, like there's like a disconnect in my brain where I hear Woody Harrelson, I'm like, fuck, I don't want Woody Harrelson. And then I watch it, and I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I do. Woody Harrelson's great, you know.
That was good.
I didn't know how it would be having him in a Star Wars movie, but I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
You know, like
out.
Again, it's a stereotypical character, but like it's a character we've seen a million times before, and his character goes to all of the places that we expect him to go. Like his characters never once did his character surprise me.
No,
but,
not at all.
But I thought he did well, like given what he had. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. It's weird because I feel like a lot of people come into this, and you know, they have a lot of baggage that they're bringing into it, right? They were, you know, turned off by The Last Jedi. They don't like what Disney's doing to Star Wars right now. They or whatever, you know. Last Jedi was a very divisive movie, right? But I feel like it really bums me out that people are so unwilling to give this movie a chance, just on its own merits. You know what I mean? Because if you look at the Star Wars fandom, like people are going into this movie and loving it. You know?
Yeah.
Like if you go on the Star Wars subreddit right now, I don't think I've seen a single bad review of it.
Yeah,
Like,
there's just a lot of people who are just not giving it a chance at all. Like they won't even like go see it. I think this is like true for the both of us. Like I think we both kind of like enjoyed this movie more than Rogue One.
yeah, we definitely both like it more than Rogue One. Here's the thing with me and Rogue One. Rogue One is a good movie. Like, I like Rogue One. Don't get me wrong. I dislike Rogue One's just entire shit. Like, I dislike its whole premise. Like, I don't like the whole premise of Rogue One. Right? Is let's find out how they got those Death Star plans in A New Hope. Right? That's not something I wanted to know. Like, there's a really good Max Landis video where he talks about that, and Max Landis makes the point of like, think back to when that dude, think back to when they found out that the Death Star had a hole in it, right? That they finally they figured out that there was a flaw, and it's like, hey, like, imagine coming up to the dude overseeing that and being like, hey man, like, there's a flaw, and he's like really, you're gonna go up to Darth Vader and you're gonna tell him that there's a flaw? It's a 1 in a million shot. It's fine. We're gonna just fucking leave it. It's fine. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that makes it all the more badass when Luke Skywalker comes in and makes that 1 in a million shot. You know what I mean? And it kind of cheapens that, honestly, when you go into Rogue One and it's like, oh no, it's cool. Like, that was all put in there on purpose.
I feel that.
You know, like, it kind of cheapens the whole thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I liked getting there. I liked all of the characters. I thought all the characters were great. I thought the movie itself is very good. I just don't like the premise of Rogue One in general. That really kind of dampens the experience of Rogue One for me. Just, you can't really enjoy a movie if you don't like what it's about.
Yeah.
You know? I didn't have that reservation with Solo. Like, Solo was just a good time in the Star Wars universe with great characters. You know, I don't have any major complaints about it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't really come up with anything. Yeah, I've only seen the movie once, and I want to see it again, and I'm obviously over the years going to see it much more. But that first viewing, I just had a really great time.
Same.
Real quick before we move into spoilers, our old buddy Don Glover as Lando. How'd you feel about that?
I enjoyed him.
Here's the deal. When we came out of it, it's funny. I saw this with my fiance Anastasia, and when we came out of it, she was like, "God, Donald Glover's not like a very good actor, is he? He's just not as good an actor like as the others. Like, he's kind of being upstaged. Like, his acting chops are being upstaged by everybody else. You know what I mean?" And I told her, I was like, "You're not technically wrong, but here's the deal. Whereas Alden is kind of doing his own thing, Donald Glover's not. He's doing a Billy D. Williams impression. You know what I mean? And it's a good one. And it's like the swagger and the smile and everything is all. He carries everything that Billy D. Williams carried. You know what I mean? And he's not really doing his own thing as much as he's doing an impression. And I guess you can call that a complaint, but like, it's a really good impression. You know what I mean? He's a really good choice for young Lando, and I think a lot of people are like, I want to see a Lando movie, you know. So, I loved all the nerdy little Easter eggs. I'll get into them into specifics when we get into the spoiler section. I loved all those little like call outs that, you know, mega dorks like me are like, you know. And how did you feel, actually, real quick, how did you feel about the character of Kira, the love interest, Emilia Clarke's character?
I mean, I don't mind her, but a part of me is like, does she need to exist?
The only thing that really bums me out about her is the thing that a lot of people are pointing out is like, why is it that every female lead in a Star Wars movie now have to just be like white British girl? You know what I mean? Like, white brunette British girl. They're all very specific. Jyn Erso, white brunette British girl. Rey, white brunette British girl. Kira, white brunette British girl. You know?
I mean, I have no issue with it.
I mean, they're all very pretty women, and they're all good, you know, good, even great actresses.
Yeah.
Like, and they're all good characters. But like, I've made this point before. I don't know, maybe on the show, maybe not. I don't know. But Star Wars is like Star Wars is one of the few it's really just Star Wars and Marvel and Harry Potter, really, are the only three kind of universes that are big enough to where you can have a kind of minority in a major role, right? You could get away with having the lead of a Star Wars movie be an Asian woman or a black woman or whatever, you know? Like, you can get away with that, so why not? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like why not give them a win, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can get away with that. Why not? I'm not even saying, like, if you're not going to do it in the main series, in the main saga, you've got all these spin-off movies. You know what I mean? Like, Kira could have been Asian. She could have easily been Asian. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't have to just be another white, brunette British girl, you know? So I sort of feel that complaint. And like I said, these movies are bigger than... These movies are bigger than that. Like, I don't think anybody would have complained about race. You know what I mean? It'd be nice to see them kind of take advantage, I guess, of their standing. I'm not trying to like get like SJW fucking cuck bullshit. Like I'm already seeing the internet vitriol, but like I really do think that Star Wars is in that advantageous position of like they're big enough to give these people a win. They're big enough to give representation to underrepresented people, you know. And I guess we got a little bit of that with Rose in The Last Jedi, but even she is really just a support character.
I mean,
you know?
from what I know, people hate the shit out of Rose,
and people don't like Rose, you know. So, I mean, it is what it is. So I guess at this point, is there anything else you think we need to mention before we move into spoilers?
I think it's spoiler time, sweet boy.
Actually, hold up. It's not spoiler time yet, because I want to talk about Chewbacca in this movie before we move on. Chewbacca is so good in this fucking movie. Like, this is easily the biggest role Chewbacca's ever had in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And he is so... It's not Peter Mayhew anymore. It's actually a young guy who's now playing Chewbacca. I forget his name. He's like a Swedish guy. And and I'm telling you, like, again, it's like I said about Alden. At no point did I... And, you know, yes, he's in, like, a full costume and stuff like that. But, like, the way he was playing Chewbacca, at no point did I look up at the screen and say, that's not Chewie. You know what I mean? All of it felt real and true to the character. And I just want to say that I loved all of the Han and Chewie stuff is honestly probably my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah, I could actually agree with that. Like, those are my favorite parts, without a doubt.
I loved everything involving Chewie in this movie was so good, and it was so nice to see Chewie with a major role, really for the first time, because Chewie's always been there. He's always been like a great, you know, a great cinematic character, a great character in the universe. But it is so nice to see him with actual like shit to do, you know, and his own little character arc, and I really really liked that. Anyway, it's spoiler time. So if you guys have not seen Solo, tune out now. We're gonna get into full spoiler discussions, no holds barred. Go see the movie. Come back if you want, and listen to us spoil the shit out of it. Give him a second. Let him go watch the movie. Darth fucking Maul? Are you kidding me?
Maul.
Just Maul now, yeah, right? Who saw that coming? Nobody.
No, I didn't see that shit coming at all.
Nobody saw that coming.
It's just like when you see him on screen, though, it's like, oh, that makes sense. The Crimson Dawn. I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
It 100% makes sense. But who saw that shit coming? Honestly. Like,
oh, dude, like, I'm telling you, the moment, like, you just see his fucking, like, I saw his legs and shit. I was like, did they?
Oh, you got it from the legs? See, I didn't even get it from the legs.
Dude,
I had to see
yeah, I got it from the legs, bro. I was like, as soon as I saw the legs, I'm like, did they fucking do it? No. And then you just see him, you're like, oh, shit!
Well, like, it was so far removed from my mind, you know, and I'm a big fan of the animated series and stuff like that, but, like, it was so far removed from my mind that, like, the legs alone didn't do it for me. When I saw the legs, like, I was just like, who the fuck is this? And then, like, when they turned the camera, like, the camera shot shows his face, I was like, no, what the fuck? I was like, I actually had, like, a mini heart attack. in the theater. Like, I didn't like audibly say anything, but like, because I didn't want to disturb my fellow moviegoers. But like, I definitely was like, I was like reeling. I was like squirming in my chair.
Yeah.
I was like, "Are you shitting me? What?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like I told you, like when we first talked about this movie, kind of in private, like this movie feels like it's ripped straight out of the animated like universe. Like it is so nice to see. You know, they've always said that the Clone Wars and that Rebels were canon. It is so nice to see that canon acknowledged.
Yeah, that's like my dad. I think I was telling you, like my dad was like, "Oh, I guess that really shows that like Rebels and all that stuff's canon." I'm like, they've been saying that's canon.
Yeah,
but it is nice to show like that acknowledgement on like the the big screen.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like I wonder how many people are gonna see that and be like, "Well, wait, Darth Maul's dead." You know what I mean?
Go watch the Disney shows, people.
Right, go watch Clone Wars and like he's becomes a bit of a major character in Clone Wars and Rebels, and like I don't know, man, it's really cool. Like that shit was really cool to see. Like,
oh yeah, without a doubt, it made me. I want more Maul. Fuck you mean?
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get it if they end up doing more solo movies. Like I think Maul's gonna be a major player, and this only takes place. We kind of know how Maul's story ends, right?
Yeah.
And this takes place only 10 years before A New Hope. He's dead by then. You know what I mean? So we know how this all pans out for Maul. But like I still want to see more of him. Like it's going to be nice to see Maul's kind of influence in these sort of like just a little bit of a step back movies. These solo movies, it would be nice to see Maul's kind of influence reigning over him as kind of the ultimate villain of these. And a lot of people want him to pop up in the Kenobi movie and stuff like that. I don't know. He's an interesting character.
I would not mind seeing that moment from Rebels on the big screen.
Like a live action adaptation of it. Yeah.
Like I would not mind that. Like I would love that.
Yeah.
But does it need it? No. But
it doesn't need it, but it would be cool to see. And whichever way they end up handling it, I'm really looking forward to seeing like what else they, I guess, derive from the canon. Now this is really interesting because I don't know how much of this /care about, but like it was so cool to get like the little shout out to Bosk made me so happy, like. Because I'm a huge fan of like the weird bounty hunter group that Boba Fett has in Empire. Like I actually collect the Black Series figures of them. Like that IG-88, Zuckuss, 4-LOM, 4LOM, Bosk.
Fucking nerd. No,
I love that. I love that group so much. I smiled hard when they name dropped Bosk. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. But then later on in the movie, the bombshell. They reveal that Beckett killed Aura Singh. Do you know who Aura Singh is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. They put that bombshell out there. And the reason I think they did that is because I think they want that name to be in audience's head a little bit, because I think Aura Singh, when they do this Boba Fett movie, and I'll talk to you about this a little bit more in the main show, because in the next episode of the main show, just I guess a little synergy here, I'm going to pitch Todd my idea for the Boba Fett movie. If they're doing the Boba Fett movie, really, Aura Singh has got to be involved.
Yeah.
And they've kind of said, like Lando says, Beckett kills Aura Singh. And it's going to be really cool if that character is a major player in another movie, and then you have that synergy of like, oh shit, she got killed, by Beckett. What a cool shout out that was. I was like, oh my God. Like, I love shit like that, like I loved that it had those little nerdy Easter eggs in there, One thing, and the reason I didn't bring this character up is because I didn't want to spoil the fact that he dies. The character of Rio, Jon Favreau, alien monkey guy.
Yeah.
Fucking love that guy. God,
yeah.
I wish he didn't have to die.
That's where I was at. I enjoyed his character for the short little time we had him.
Yeah, like it was actually kind of funny because when we came out of the movie, like Anastasia and I always like halfway troll each other. We're always like, what was your favorite part? Who was your favorite character? Like just dumb shit like that. Whenever we see a movie together, and she's like, you know who my favorite character was? And I was like, I don't know, Kira? No. Chewie? No. She's like, it was my old buddy Rio. she's like, I wish he didn't die. He was great. Like, and Jon Favreau was great. And there's a lot of moving parts in here that we could talk about. You know what though? And this is another thing I didn't want to spoil for people. Those fucking dice. The Han Solo, the lucky dice.
Oh, right? The lucky dice?
Yes. God, they kind of eased up on it, but the first 20 minutes of the movie, every chance they got, they showed us those fucking dice. Like it was actually annoying the shit out of me. Like,
really?
It was actually actively annoying me because, like, here's the thing about the dice, right? The dice kind of annoy me just in general because, like, they pop up in The Last Jedi as, like, kind of a major plot device, right? Where, like, the dice show up and Luke, like, hands the dice to Leia, and then I guess they were holographic and they're still on the Falcon. What the fuck ever, right? Nobody knew what the fuck those were. They're like, hang on a second, what? Han Solo has lucky dice? And then you go back and people are like, yeah, duh, they were on the Falcon the whole time. You see them. They're hanging there. You can just barely see them, but they're there. It's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I had no idea that Han Solo had lucky dice hanging off of the...
Guess you're not that big of a Star Wars fan.
Well, but here's the deal, right? It contradicts itself because it's like, oh, well, the idea is that that's the dice that he used to win the game of Sabacc that ended up winning the Falcon, right? And it's not that, though, in this canon at all. He had the dice way before then. And then the counter argument to that is, oh, well, he still used it or whatever. It's like, no, he didn't. We see the Sabacc game. Nope. So... I don't know. Like, and then, just early in the movie, though, like, every chance they got, they did a zoom in on those fucking dice. And I was like, oh my God, like, I respect that they're in here, but, like, do you really have to have those dice in here to pay off a movie that already happened?
Yeah.
Like, speaking of the Sabacc game, holy shit, the last scene in the movie is so perfect.
Yep.
The last scene in the movie makes me so goddamn happy. Like, I can't wait until this movie's been, like, to where I can, like, just watch that last scene on YouTube whenever I want. I fucking love just everything about that scene. How he sits down at the table on this, like, tropical planet, and he's got that moment with Lando where he like acts like shit's not cool between them, and then, like, sits down at the table, and him and Chewie are, like, bluffing. He's like, oh, I don't know, Chewie, and Chewie's, like, shaking his head, and he's like, oh, it's so fucking good. And then, like, they have that hug where Han takes the cheat card out of his sleeve.
Yeah. Let me be honest. Like, dude, fucking Dong Lover's face when he's trying to cheat.
When
he's like, oh,
he puts his hand under the table and he's going to grab that cheat card, and his face just drops. He's like, you got everything you need there, pal? Oh my God, it's so fucking perfect. And, like, that's the thing. Like, there was such joy in seeing him, because he starts off the movie, Alden, young Han Solo. He starts off this movie as this kind of, like, he's kind of, like, cocky and stuff like that, like Han Solo always has been, but he's a little bit unsure of himself and doesn't know what he wanted to do with his life. Yeah. And by the end of this movie, he becomes more or less the Han Solo that we know. Yep. He essentially becomes a younger version of the Han Solo we know. You know what I mean? And man, I really, that scene just put such a big smile on my face. That was so perfect, I did want to talk about the character of L3. How'd you feel about L3?
I liked L3. And the whole thing where she ends up kind of being like the navigation system for the Millennium Falcon's interesting.
That is interesting. There's a lot of people who don't like L3. And
her whole like robot uprising shit or what?
Well, just like she's like a feminist and stuff like that, and she's like a droidist, I guess. I loved that about her. I love that they were
it amused me. I didn't mind it.
and then there's the whole shit where like I love how she's like, oh yeah, fucking Lando's in love with me too, but I just don't feel the same way, you know.
That part got a little chuckle out of me.
That was great. We didn't get her for very long, you know, because obviously she ends up dying and being put into the navigation system and honestly, the navigation system that like makes the Kessel Run possible, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The little time that we had her, I liked her as a character. The one and only thing that really pisses me off about her as a character is the fact that her name is L337. Like,
oh, bitch! I knew about that.
God, that annoys me. Do we have to go there? You know.
That's why we just only assume that her name's L3.
Right. That's all I'm gonna call her.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack here, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I feel like I've covered my bases for the most part of the things I wanted to bring up. I feel like I can't help but feel like I'm forgetting something that I wanted to mention. Was there anything else you wanted to mention?
I mean, if we could sit here for like another like 30 minutes talking about this movie, talking about like a lot of the shit that's happened in it. I mean, I could talk way more about like the Chewie scenes right now.
Yes.
Like,
can we just talk about that scene when they first meet?
Oh, dude, like I think I said this to you yesterday. I was like, it was always implied that Han knew how to speak Wookiee.
Oh yeah.
But it was something else to hear him actually do it.
Yeah, I love. Oh my god, I love that scene so much when like, cause dude, like, for some reason when I was sitting in the theater, like I thought that was gonna be like a Rancor or something like that.
Dude, I was on the same page.
Okay, good. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that thought that.
I thought it was gonna be a fucking Rancor.
Because they're like feed him to the beast and they like drop him down like, oh, it hasn't eaten in a few days or whatever, and they drop him into the pit, and it took me a hilariously long time to realize that it was Chewie. Because like we see like dead bodies, you know, like in the pit. And, like, I was just thinking the whole time, oh, Rancor. And then, like, yeah, the chains being pulled and shit like that, and you see Chewie. And, like, honestly, like, seeing him like that, I got a little emotional. Like,
yeah.
Like, there is, like, an otherworldly feeling to seeing these two characters that I've loved for most of my life. You know what I mean? Like, I've been a Star Wars fan for more of my life than I haven't been. You know what I mean? Like, I'm old enough now where Star Wars has been like a significant part of my life for more than half of my life, you know? And like it's just, there is such a like ascendant feeling to seeing these two characters meet for the first time on screen canonically in a, you know, a high budget, you know, real movie, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like just crazy. What a great scene that is. And yeah, like hearing him sort of communicate with Chewie, just so good and funny. And like, I really thought that a lot of this humor was on point for the most part. Like I laughed when the movie wanted me to laugh, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really, really like this movie, Todd.
I do as well.
This movie made me very happy. And like the good Star Wars movies, like, and you know, I love The Force Awakens, but like, and you know, and I've said this, like, as much as I love The Force Awakens, and I really do, I think The Force Awakens is great. I love it, right? But it did not get me as excited about Star Wars as The Last Jedi and now Solo did. You like, Force Awakens and Rogue One, I was like, oh, great, new Star Wars. I'm so on board with this. I love it. You know, watching Rebels and stuff like that. Like, cool. I love what's going on here. But, like, now, where we are now, The Last Jedi and Solo and stuff like that, and the place that we're at now with Star Wars, I've never been more excited to be a Star Wars fan. Because we're trying new things with Star Wars, you know? And I understand that's the thing that a lot of the fandom dislikes, but, like, that's what has me so excited, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's why The Force Awakens, as much as I love it, did not excite me that much, because it was more of the same, you know, like
Yeah, it was just New Hope 2.0.
yeah, like I loved it, but it was more of what we've already seen, you know? And now that we're finally getting stuff that is new and different and strange and weird and fresh and very experimental, and some of those things fall flat, but at least we experimented, at least we did something different, you know?
Yeah.
I've never been more excited to be a Star Wars fan. My Star Wars boner is an all-time high. And yeah, I just can't wait to see where we're going from here. Anyway, I could talk about Star Wars all day. Honestly, Star Wars is going to be a main element of the main show this week, so I don't want to blow my Star Wars load all here. So anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
I think that's about it, man.
All right, guys. Keep the dream alive. Keep watching Star Wars movies. Bye.
See ya.